Thanks for tuning in and welcome to this week's review of the Bourne Ultimatum, starring Matt Damon.
What's he after?
He's retracing his steps, looking for something. We need to know what it is.
Someone made me what I am. And I'm gonna find him.
Who's Bosun?
He trained you.
He was with you from the beginning. He knows who you are.
They're not gonna let you go. They need to bring you home in a body bag.
I've got 2 words for this movie. Sold out. Both screens at midnight. And I am somewhat surprised that both large screens were sold out for the midnight showing, and I knew from the buzz surrounding this movie that there would be a nice turnout, but I didn't expect it to be quite this good. This is a result of making 2 very solid films and not straying too far from its original grounded feel. Sure, there are some scenes that might stretch the imagination a little bit, but it's never too over the top to make any of the scenes look too comical in nature. This series has always been a well-scripted one, with a good balance of action, as well as being very clever and dramatic. And in the past, they've had no qualms about killing characters that you may have thought were going to live. And this is necessary to show that anyone in this film could be at risk. All 3 films have been extremely well received by both the fans as well as the critics. The first movie did pretty well, scoring just over $121 million at the box office, while the second one really took off, pulling in just over $176 million. This is a very smart series that has always had an excellent cast, and this movie is no different. Some of the notables include Scott Glenn, Julia Stiles, Joan Allen, David Strathairn, and of course Albert Finney. And I must say that Matt Damon really has done an incredible job in this series, and it will be interesting to see where he goes from here as an actor. The first time I ever saw him in a movie was in School Ties, and I really haven't seen him give a bad performance, at least that I can remember. The acting is on par with the casting. It's very strong. And even though the series has had a few people killed off, it does maintain its course and keeps the feel like one long movie as opposed to 3 totally separate ones. And I will say, as far as trilogies go, this is probably one of the best from the first through the third. Most trilogies, even the great ones, usually drop the ball in the 3rd movie. Just see The Matrix, Godfather, Blade, Shrek, and the list goes on and on. But this series is probably one of the most consistent from the beginning to the end. This movie definitely has the big 4. It has a script, the director, the cast, and the budget. If a movie has all these and is not a success, then someone's really dropped the ball. And in reality, most movies don't have all 4. Usually something big is missing. And if you're missing 1, you may be okay. But if you're missing 2 or more, the movie's usually doomed. It really takes all 4 together to make a great film. Of the 4, the budget might be the one that can be sacrificed and still have a successful movie. The other 3 parts are almost mandatory to make a great film. And if you don't believe in a good script, just see Aliens 3 in the quadrilogy box set. Even with a great director like David Fincher and a decent cast for Aliens 3, that movie was doomed with no workable script. There was one part of this movie that may remind you a little bit of the first Matrix, when Morpheus tried to walk Neo out of his office building at the very beginning of the series, and something similar was also done in this movie. Now there are 2 real standout scenes in this movie. One was the big fight scene, and the other one is a car chase, and believe me, you'll know them when you see them. These are very well done, and they'll definitely keep you glued to your seat. This movie does have 3 elements that usually is not done well in a single movie. It does have very strong action scenes mixed with drama, as well as having an element of mystery. Most action films pretty much forget the drama, and they rely almost completely on the bigger, stronger, faster, or louder approach instead of making it a smarter or more dramatic film. They just throw another big explosion onto it to make up for a lack of originality. And this movie doesn't do that. This movie was very smart and stylish, and it did have a strong element of realism to it. They never pushed the envelope so far in scenes that you started thinking green screen. It did have an authentic look and feel that most sequels usually leave behind after the original in the series becomes successful. And this movie stays true to its roots, and that was nice to see for a change. Bigger doesn't always mean better. If there was one thing that was a little weak, it was the ending. Now, it was a good ending, but it just didn't quite live up to the strength of the rest of the movie. And this being the 3rd and maybe final film, I wanted a little more from the conclusion. Now, the mark of a great movie is to leave you thinking, wow. Now, I was much more wowed up into the ending than I was by the actual ending itself. Overall, I would say you can't miss if you decide to see this movie, and it's definitely worth seeing at the theater. So if you liked either of the first 2 films, this one is easily on par with both of them. And it does finish the series pretty well. That is, of course, if it's indeed finished. You never know these days. From overall rating, I give the Bourne Ultimatum 4.5 stars.